also, of course, take part in questioning. I call Sarah Atherton on behalf of the Defence Committee. Sarah.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's a real privilege to be able to give this statement to the House today on behalf of the Defence Select Committee. And first, I'd like to put on the record my interest as parliamentary patron for the veterans charity Forward Assist. In July, the Defence Select Committee published a report onto the lived experiences of women in the armed forces and female veterans. The intention was that upon the publication of the report, we would come to this House and give a statement on the report's findings and recommendations. However, as the report was released during recess, the decision was made to delay this committee's statement in the House until the Ministry of Defence responded. Last week, we received a 40-page response from the MOD, and I am very grateful to the Backbench Business Committee for granting this Select Committee statement, giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Defence Select Committee today. I would like to acknowledge the people that over the past 18 months have made this report happen. Firstly, my right honourable friend for Bournemouth East, who graciously relinquished his chairmanship for the subcommittee, allowing me to chair this inquiry. My colleagues on the Defence Select Committee who have shown continual commitment and support throughout this inquiry. The committee staff, the Chief Clerk Mark Atherton and Committee Specialist Lucy Aurora, who have been a pleasure to work with. And finally, Rachel Varley, my parliamentary researcher, who spent many days at my side reading and listening to some very sobering evidence. I would like to thank the Secretary of State who lifted the Defence Instruction Notice to allow servicewomen to speak to the committee, which is normally forbidden. An illustration of the Secretary of State's dedication to our endeavour. Thanks to this, just short of 10% of the female serving population came forward to give their accounts. However, I need to put on record my most sincere thanks to the 4,106 women and veterans who completed our survey, in addition to 76 pieces of oral and written evidence we received. This inquiry is thanks to all that contributed, and the credit is theirs. Very quickly, Madam Deputy Speaker, I would just like to outline the report, its scope and our recommendations before moving on to the response from the Ministry of Defence. The inquiry looked at the whole military life cycle of a servicewoman, from recruitment, retention and transition to civilian life. The scope of the inquiry was therefore vast. Due to the limited time I have, I will focus on four main themes: recruitment and retention, especially those with families, the role of the chain of command in overseeing complaints, the service justice system, and finally the issues that female veterans face when transitioning to civilian life. Incredibly, 90% of women would recommend a career in the military, as would I. However, when things go wrong, they go dramatically wrong. I and the rest of the committee were shocked to discover the volume of women who told us they had experienced bullying, harassment, intimidation, discrimination, and worse, serious sexual assault and rape. In fact, 62% of surveyed women said they had experienced abuse while serving. One of the big issues was how lodging a complaint coloured their military careers going forward, and how the complaint has a legacy impact upon the rest of their lives. The committee made 35 recommendations. I will not run through them all, but I will explain a few of the key areas. Firstly, we recommended that in complaints of a sexual nature, the chain of command be entirely removed from that complaints process. The reason for this being that in extreme, harrowing circumstances, the perpetrator was also the commanding officer, with service women unable to escape the environment where the assault took place or avoid the perpetrator. We also recommended an increase in the independence of the complaints and investigations process, away from being managed within units where the alleged incident occurred. We recommended a central defence authority, which would sit outside the single service to deal with complaints. We recommended that decisions of the service ombudsman were binding. We recommended that serious sexual assault, rape, murder and manslaughter are removed from the court-martial jurisdiction and heard in civilian courts. Servicewomen reported to us failings in kit, uniform and equipment, which has a huge impact on operational effectiveness. Body armour made for men, helmets falling below their eyes, no sanitary products available on operations. We recommended this is rectified so that women have suitable kit which enhances their combat ability, not inhibits it. On retention, most women who leave the army do so after returning from having children. We recommended policies to improve family and personal life, including the swift rollout of wraparound childcare to all bases in all services by the end of 2022 and a more flexible working environment. On veterans, we recommended more recognition for women who have served. Of all the veterans and armed forces charities in the UK, there is only one that solely deals with women veterans. That is Salute Her in Newcastle. And I would like to personally thank Paula Edwards, who runs this charity, for firstly giving evidence to this inquiry and then supporting the extra 147 new referrals in addition to the 1,800 she currently supports as a direct result of this inquiry. To outline the MOD's response, Madam Deputy Speaker, I would like to firstly place on record that the Secretary of State was 2 months late in issuing a reply. However, I do forgive him as he has agreed to most of our recommendations. Crucially, the MOD have agreed to remove the chain of command's remit from complaints of a sexual nature. This is hugely transformative and will improve the service for women currently serving and those who will serve in the future. One question I have for the Minister, which I hope to address this afternoon in the Westminster Hall debate, is how this will all work in practice. The devil's in the detail. I need confirmation that if a servicewoman is sexually assaulted, there is a reporting and investigating process that is completely outside the chain of command, so she can continue to work without fear of repercussion. The MOD has agreed to make the complaints for non-sexual offences more independent, also employing an outsourced investigation service. However, ambiguity remains over the alternative reporting mechanism and just how involved the chain of command will be in these complaints relating to harassment, bullying and discrimination. The service chiefs will be commissioning a 6-month sprint to look at women's health needs in uniform. In fact, some months ago, prior to the publication of the report, the MOD announced the rollout of sanitary products for all those on operations and more choice on hairstyles. One style, I am reliably informed, is called a battle braid. I am very pleased that the MOD is already making changes in these areas. These have huge impact, Minister, on the day-to-day living of these women and their sense of being valued, recognised and listened to. I was disappointed that the MOD refused to accept the recommendation to remove rape from the military jurisdiction and place into civilian courts. The Secretary of State and Ministers know the strength of feeling on this. The evidence to support this is clear for all to see. The Secretary of State went further in his response to our report in many ways, which is most welcomed. I am pleased about the setting up of the aspirational target of 30% women in the armed forces by 2030, showing ongoing commitment to our servicewomen. Having liaised with our equivalent in the United States, I am pleased that the Secretary of State has committed to scoping an international conference next year to look at best practice and progress as the world is waking up to the issues faced by women serving in the military. Madam Deputy Speaker, this has been almost 18 months and is the first time that issues that women experience in the armed forces and female veterans have been examined in this way. This inquiry gave them a platform and their voices have been heard. As a veteran, it has been an honour to have chaired this inquiry and I commend this special report to the House.